Hi guys, this video is for lesson 6.3, second part of our recursive formulas. So in this lesson we're going to talk about how to write recursive formulas in a formal way using math symbols instead of the words now and next like we have been. Okay, so formal sequence notation. The first thing is that the letter U, a lowercase u, is the symbol for a term in the sequence. Okay, and then since every term can't just be u, because then they'd all be the same, we put a subscript on u, or a little number below it, to show which term we're at. So the subscript number is the term number. Okay, so let's look at this sequence here. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, and so on. The first term in this sequence is 1. So if I wanted to write this with a symbol, I would say that it's u for a term, and then the subscript is 1 for the first term. Okay, and I would pronounce this little guy u sub 1. So I say u, and then sub, meaning subscript, and then I say what's in the subscript. So u sub 1 means u with a subscript of 1. Okay, then our second term is 4. So the symbol for 4 is going to be a little u and then with a subscript 2 to indicate that it's the second term. And I would pronounce that u sub 2. And 9 is our third term. So our symbol for 9 would be u sub 3. 3 for the third term. Okay, so that's how we name particular terms with a symbol, u and then the subscript with the number. If I said, what is u sub 100, I would be asking you, what's the 100th term in this sequence? So if you kept going out 100 terms, what would that be? Yeah, okay. So that's the first part. Now what we need to do is, we're going to work over here for a minute. We need to know what would the symbols be for what we were calling the now term and the next term, because that showed up in our formulas, right? So we need a way to write those with our u's now. Okay, so this might seem a little weird at first, but just stick with me. The symbol for the now term, or the current term, is going to be u sub n. And what this means is the subscript n, that's the term number, so this means it's the nth term. And if I don't specify what n is, then this is just referring to any random term in the sequence. So this can serve as a placeholder for saying wherever you're at in the sequence, whatever your now term is. So that's why we use it for the now term. Okay, u sub n. If u sub n is the now term, we need to use that to come up with our next term. And before I give you the symbol, we're going to do a quick example. So let's say the now term is u sub 6. What would the next term be? Well, the next would be u sub 7, right? Because we go from the 6th term to the 7th term. And how do we get to the 7th term? You take the 6th term and you add 1 to the term number, right? So it's the 6th term plus 1 more term, the 7th term. Okay, so the idea there is like if you're at the 19th term, the next term is the 20th term, right? If you're at u sub 19, the next term is u sub 20. You're adding 1 to the subscript. If you're at u sub 48, the next term is u sub 49. You add 1 to the subscript. If you're at u sub 1000, the next term would be u sub 1001. You add 1 to the subscript to go to the next term. So let's apply that idea. If the now term is u sub n, then the next term would be u sub n plus 1 in the subscript, right? We add 1 to the subscript to get to the next term. So our symbol for the next term is going to be u sub n plus 1. Okay, so those are our symbols for now and next, and that's going to help us translate our now next formulas into formal notation. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to practice writing some formulas in formal notation. Okay, let's look at this one. Start equals 30, next equals 2 times now plus 10. So the 30, the 2, and the plus 10, those are all fine. That's already in mathematical notation. What we want to do is convert start, next, and now into mathematical notation. So start, this was the first term, remember? Start stands for the first term, and we just learned that the symbol for the first term would be u sub 1. The subscript of 1 represents the first term. Okay, and then we just learned our symbols for next and now. So next is the symbol u sub n plus 1. And now is the symbol u sub n. Okay, so when I write my formal version, I'm going to keep everything the same, except I'm going to replace these words with their symbols. So instead of start, I'm going to write u sub 1 equals 30. That's another way of saying the first term equals 30. And then instead of writing next, I'm going to write u sub n plus 1 equals 2. Instead of now, I'm going to write u sub n and then plus 10. Okay, so this is another way of saying wherever you're at in the sequence, so you're at a random point in the sequence, you don't know what term you're at, you're just at a random term. When you're at that random term, you get the next term, the term right after that random term, which is u sub n plus 1, by taking your random term, u sub n, multiplying it by 2, and then adding 10. So this is kind of the translation of our rule into math symbols. Okay, let's try one more for these notes. So same idea, we're going to keep everything in our formula the same, except we're going to replace these informal words with our formal symbols. So start equals -5. That's saying the first term is -5, and our symbol for the first term is u sub 1. So the first thing in our formula will be u sub 1 equals -5. That's our symbolic way of saying the first term is -5. Okay, then we have our rule that says you get the next term by squaring the now term, or the current term. Our symbol for the next term was u sub n plus 1. And our symbol for the now term was u sub n. So in the formal version, our rule will be u sub n plus 1 equals u sub n squared. Okay, You can put parentheses around u sub n. You don't have to. I guess like I did it here because sometimes it kind of feels like the n gets in the way of things. Here, it didn't really feel that way. I could have put parentheses here if I wanted to. It doesn't matter. Let's just look at this again really quick. So this, like I said, this statement, this symbolic statement is our math way of writing the first term is -5. And then down here, what we're saying is, okay, you're at a random place in the sequence. You don't know where you are in the sequence, you're just at a random place. So wherever you're at, whatever your random place in the sequence is, you get the next term, the term that's one beyond your random term, so u sub n plus 1, by taking your random term, u sub n, and then squaring it. So this is wherever you are in the sequence, and to get the very next term, you take wherever you are in the sequence and square it. Okay, those are the notes for 6.3. You can go check out the examples video for more examples if you need it. Otherwise, complete your check for understanding. Thanks for watching.